couple uh just a couple minutes. We'll waiting for another one
No
because
problem.
yeah,
Of course.
just
Hi everyone. Morning.
hi,
Hello. Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as
nice.
well.
Hello.
Hello, how are you? Good to see you all.
Yeah,
Hello.
thank you for your time. Thank you everyone for an opportunity to discuss this important, not question, but I think direction. And just one more minutes. We are waiting for another one participants. I'm not expected a lot of, but I'd like to one more. Hello. Mm, just one moment. I'm working like an assistant because something wrong with my assistant, and he
Okay.
does not work properly with Zoom. I don't know why. Something wrong with Zoom. I'm not sure about. Mm, just one more. Oh, just one more. Hello, everyone.
Well,
Hello, Anita.
Val, this is lunchtime in Spain, and also this is the day where everybody is packing to enjoy their Easter holidays. So
Yeah,
not the best moment. I'm sorry.
I
yeah,
agree.
uh, absolutely. It was not good time for event, but it was my mistake.
No
In
problem.
future,
No
in
problem.
future, I'll correct it.
It's perfect
So,
to meet these super highly talented people, and for me, it's a pleasure. I feel very proud of having here you all, and we can start when you want, Val.
yes, I think the floor is yours because you will be moderator today, and I'd like to know your thoughts about Citiverse Council because I see a big logic to do this step in Citiverse direction, and maybe we'll be able to have two host city, Valencia and Tapere. We have Tepo and Ernesto in past event, and maybe we'll be able to do something real. And I'd like to know your thoughts about an opportunity to do the first step working group as the next to do the real Citiverse Council. What do you think?
Perfect. Well, let me provide some introductional words and also hand over the voice to our good representatives. I think it's very convenient the representation we have here because we have Giacomo as a startup and entrepreneur starting to work for Cityverse related or Metaverse related technologies. Also, Anita from Accenture to give us the corporate vision on how to make this useful for large organizations and cities in this case. Also, we have Tonia. Wow. Congratulations. Marie Curie research is the top of the top it's a dream for any researcher. So congratulations. And Tonia will give us the academia perspective, hopefully. So that's wonderful. And I don't know whether we have with us, yes, we have Isabel, and we have, I don't know whether we have with us Fatima ARZAMENDIA for ITU. No? Okay, let's start with her. Well,
We are waiting. We are waiting.
as a kind of introduction, let me say that I prefer to say Meta City instead of Cityverse. Why? because if we are translating a physical city into a virtual city or a virtual world that is inheriting all the work done in the literature about the possible virtual worlds, this is a new category in literature that has given very fruitful topics like the Game of Thrones or all this fantastic literature. And in the other hand, instead of physical people, we have avatars, we have icons that are representing the people in these virtual worlds. And also we have these virtual relationships. It's obvious to me that instead of a city, we have a meta city. But let's keep the words as they are in this proposal for a Citiverse Council. And the idea is, well, taking advantage of all these new technologies that are coming from the metaverse, mainly developed for gaming, to enhance the way we are connecting to our citizens, we are providing services, or we are listening to them or offering services, is a natural way for the governments to use the same methodologies and same lifestyle tools the citizens are choosing for their daily interaction with the virtual world. That's an obvious topic. And we need to consider that this is a reflection. Most of the metaverse space is private. It's not public owned anymore.
Correct.
So I think it's time to take a space in the metaverse from the public institutions, and also take advantage of these technologies for the benefit of our public service. So that's a short introduction, and I would like to, ladies always go first, but in this case, let's go to Giacomo.
Sure.
In your role of entrepreneur with your startup, NEWERA, what's your name?
NEWERA.
NEWERA, what's your perception? How can you make new developments and new proposals for cities based on all these new technologies? How do you see the metaverse emerging as a new tool for the public sector? Giacomo.
Sure. Well, I've been in the smart cities world for almost 2 years now as a startup founder, and I can see very clearly both the energy around innovation, the willingness to innovate, and the friction of implementation. So in this regard, there's a few points that came to my mind around the idea of moving from vision to action. First of all, I think that a council like this should not remain symbolic, as often happens with many smart city initiatives or events. So based on my experience, many times people come together, share ideas, present visions, but then the conversation stops there. And I think the real issue of this is not only moving from vision to action in general. I think it's more moving from vision to a first action. So small real world experimentation, for example, should be much easier. And cities should not need the same level of complexity to test small initiatives as to launch citywide deployments. And this is something we have seen very directly in NEWERA. At NEWERA, we are building real-time mobility intelligence and distributed AI infrastructure, pretty exciting things. But even when we talk about small pilots, like 10 or 20 streetlights, it still takes months before something really happens and the pilot to even start. And if this first step is this slow, then innovation itself becomes very hard to be implemented. And this is why I believe that cities that are truly serious about innovation should step forward and become pilot cities. And I believe that to make like this council more practical, one concrete way would be to create something useful, like a platform. And I'm seeing this as a startup founder again, to like a shared platform for pilot opportunities, not for tenders or large procurements, but just for small real world experimentation, so that on one side, cities could publish areas where they are truly open to testing new solutions. And on the other side, startups and companies could propose small pilot projects. Because what is still too difficult now today is not just scaling, it's even starting. So to reduce the gap between vision and action, I think we have to make easier the 0 to 1 step first.
Mm-hmm. That's super interesting, Giacomo. One of the main concepts around creating this Citiverse Council is trying to gain some shared knowledge between all the community and establish some kind of coordination mechanism that will allow us to have something like a unified platform or something that is more or less standardized. Yeah, but on the other hand, one of the beauties of this new technology is that is pure creativity, is absolutely freedom for your imagination. When we were talking about digital twins, we need to very strictly present a strict real representation of the reality, and then working with this concept, adding data and making simulations. Now, with the Citiverse, we don't need to match the reality. It's completely free to our imagination. And it's completely free about the tools and the methodologies and the algorithms and the ways to show this new virtual world. Wow, this is opening a very wide set of opportunities, and also on the other hand, very risky way for the cities to choose the best technologies in an open tender, because you don't know whether behind this technology there is a large company or something that will respond, or is just a small group of developers with no clear background. And this is also increasing the uncertainty from the customers, from the cities, to afford this investment on Citiverse. And the best voice to talk about that will be Anita. Anita is KM Artificial Intelligence Lead at Accenture. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you with us. What's your vision about this, promising business, but also very complex to manage?
Yes, complex to manage. Look, from my side, as I deal with knowledge management, to me, the biggest issue is always the knowledge that goes into any project. and the necessity of it being user-centric. But I have to really support what Giacomo said here right now, because the problem he described is something I see in my work every day. And that is that unless there is a very small step that's easy to be taken, things stay in the planning stage for very, very, very long. So I do want to second what Giacomo was saying, and I think that needs to be applied in just about any industry, right? I go to so many conferences, and unfortunately, a lot of the good stuff that gets said, a lot of the good stuff that gets planned, just stays in the planning stages. So, Giacomo, I completely agree with you. From my end, we are not completely involved with Citiverse's per se in the corporate world, at least not in the team that I'm on. But knowledge management is something that is heavily applicable to any kind of project that uses artificial intelligence, right? It's not only about managing the knowledge that goes into the project, it's also about making sure that there's no bias, and bias can come from not only inherently what's in artificial intelligence, but it also in the data that we use for any given project, right? To make sure nothing gets left out, because a lot of bias comes from knowledge that is left out due to poor planning, for example, right? So yes, glad to be here and looking forward to active cooperation.
Wow, thank you very much, Anita. Well, we are talking about this first action. We can call them the first steps. And this is, Giacomo, a critical component of any change management process. In a change management, we have the dissatisfaction, the expectations for a new benefits, the leadership, and then the first steps. And all these four components are multiplying. So if one of them is zero, then the result is zero. And all this multiplication must be bigger than the natural resistance to change, right? So these first steps are absolutely critical. I actually agree with you. Well, let's go now to see the perspective from Antonia, from the academic point of view. And Antonia, being the leader of DAO, wow. To be honest, I have tried several times to fully understand the DAO unsuccessfully. So probably that's one of the reasons I very much admire you, Tonia. So from the academic perspective, how do you see the evolution of this Metaverse concept to finally provide a big value to our cities?
Well, first of all, I'm very glad to be here with all of you. What I've heard both from Giacomo and Anita make perfect sense, because although I'm now working with academia, I also come from the business world. So I pretty much am on the same side with you, and the same level of understanding with regards to what is necessary to be done. On the other hand, I've been working with the UN Citiverse initiative for almost 1 year now, and I was with track 7, and we worked on the Citiverse framework. So this is very much related to what you were discussing about DAOs. So DAOs are like the infrastructure level of governance for different types of platforms, mostly known for decentralized finance. But for the last few years, also part of governance for Metaverse platforms. So some of the most famous ones, just to mention, are Decentraland and the Sandbox. And these are decentralized platforms that have not managed to achieve much due to their decentralized nature, to be honest, because decentralization does not go well with user friendliness and supportive user interfaces. So essentially, it's something that, although it is wanted, it is always something that should probably come with in a hybrid mode, with centralized, platforms from the offer side. From my experience with the Citiverse, from the UN planning side on what we did for the framework, I understand that there is a lot of fragmentation, both in terms of understanding the levels of governance, because you mentioned in the beginning that we don't have one size fits all, something that is meant to be used similarly by everyone, and we can make the model depending on what are the actual needs of each city. But essentially, there are some elements that should be taken always on board. And earlier this morning, these elements were discussed. Elements like interoperability, elements like standardization, the aspects of decentralization, which are important but should always be considered within a specific context in order to offer usability. And I think also the technological aspects, like we discussed simulations. So digital twins are very important to have in order to be able to test potential solutions that would fit the needs of each city. And this is something that most cities that are involved right now in Citiverse have either already implemented, as far as I understand, or are planning to implement in the future. So from the academic perspective, I think that metaverses are being defined in many different ways. So for someone, metaverse can even be like an XR experience. It doesn't have to be like a dedicated platform. Anything using, the right equipment within a gaming platform could be considered the metaverse. It depends on the perspective of the user. But within the Citiverse context, I think from my understanding, digital twins is imperative. Potential blockchain solutions that can offer decentralization of data management and trustworthiness for all users and stakeholders that are involved in the process are key. I don't know if I answered your question.
Oh, super, wonderful. One open question to any of you. All of our cities have built for a long time their own identity as a consequence of all the contributions from all the people who lived there before. All the culture, the gastronomy, the image, the internal image, the projected exterior image. This is something that is associated to the past of the city and is created an attractive motivator for people to move there. Do you think we are in a moment where cities must also build their own image in the Citiverse, an innovative image built on the latest technology, so they could be attractive as well from the virtual world? Any of you, please?
Okay, maybe I'll start off the discussion, but in my view, anything happening in the real world will end up being replicated in the virtual world. Cities that have an image in the real world will have to build an image in the virtual world. And of course, given once you have an image in the real world, it carries over to the virtual world. But I think it can be built upon. I think things in the virtual world, in the Citiverse, will be much more bolder, bigger. It'll be more than in the real world. That's how I see it. But definitely, yes. And also, if you're not visible in the virtual world soon, it's like you don't exist. It's like that with, social media presence. It's like that with anything. If you're not seen, you don't exist. So I think more and more effort will be put into that.
That's clear. Giacomo, how do you imagine Milano in the virtual world?
Well, actually, at NEWERA, we are bridging the gap between the city physical infrastructure and digital infrastructure. So I believe Milan, as many other countries we are talking to and will talk to, basically what we are doing is we create a real-time digital twin of the city, so we can understand exactly, like at granular street level density, what's happening in the street, and this is reflecting to a digital representation that can help manage urban services as a whole, which is a very big problem, as Antonia said, also talked about fragmentation, and this fragmentation is a very problem with also technology and hardware installation, because like cities now install every new devices for every new service. They install devices from different vendors, different platforms, and this put a lot of work and complexity for the results in a lot of work and complexity for the council. Whereas we are building a distributed AI infrastructure, like a standardized sensing layer that recreates the digital twin, a mobility layer. And with this data, we then manage the services. And the city can see in real time what's happening around the street, around its city, and for like managing street lights, lighting, and traffic, etc.
That's wonderful, but let me separate the concept of a digital twin, that is a real and a high fidelity representation of the real world in the virtual world, and is mainly used for simulations dealing with physical conditions. But when we are adding humans, then we need to add as well the psychological component, the emotional component. How can we represent in this Citiverse the emotions, the sentiments, the psychological thoughts of the Milanese, in this case, with your Duomo icon, with your main iconic topics in your wonderful city, as a way to engage and connect with the citizens? That's different. Is not a reality, another reality. Is pure creativity and imagination associated to your city. Antonia, how do you say that? How you?
Yeah, thank you. This is really a very interesting and very intriguing question, because I think that all the models that are being built by the cities have somehow become human-centric. And this is very important, to always take into consideration the human factor and how people are not like predictable algorithms. The human behavior can be repetitive, but it's not a guarantee. So it is essential to always take on board the perceptions of the human beings and how they would like to be involved in several cases. For example, what Giacomo said, if we are discussing about critical infrastructure in cities, and we are talking about water and electricity and power plants and everything that is necessary for the actual operation of the city, we need to also take into account how any potential problem or obstacle that comes with the operation of this infrastructure will create several human reactions. So scenario building is something that is usually something we work on with the involvement of different stakeholders in order to help us better understand the reactive types, the types of different users, the type and the psychology of the different users in within different perspectives of the scenarios that we build. And also, I think that having some sort of living labs in involving actual stakeholders and users and different types of people with different sentiments, different age groups, different backgrounds. It's also very important, because this allows us to collect data that can feed into our model and help it improve day by day. So
I fully agree. Most of the times we have said that we need to allow co-creation of the solutions that we are designing for the citizens' benefit. But to be honest, this is not happening most of the times, mainly because it's not that easy to run a panel or discuss with citizens about technologies they don't understand.
Sorry for interrupting. We have free Zoom and we have just only 10 minutes and
I know.
yeah.
So,
The floor is yours. I'd like to hear you, to summarize and to understand what the next step will have.
okay, perfect. No, I was saying that we have tried to incorporate citizens as a kind of co-creation, unsuccessfully, but now we have the opportunity with the Citiverse to make the right way, no? Because we can ask them how they see the city, how is this city in their imagination, how can you figure out your city in a virtual environment so you will enjoy and you will be fully delighted to interact with this concept. So that's a huge opportunity. A final question for you all to finish is the following. This is another quite philosophical reflection. Are we moving to a concept of two cities? One city where your body is, and you have a mayor that is responsible for your body, water, energy, security, pollution, blah, 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 housing. And then another virtual city that is an evolution of the remote working that is already in place, where you are exercising your intellectual capacities, making money in the virtual world as well. And well, this is very unfair because this city is benefiting from your intelligence, but the other major is taking care of your physical remains. Okay, very unfair. And this is something that is not new. This is coming from the ancient Greece with Plato, Saint Augustine with the two cities, the physical and the virtual magical city, or Dickens, The Tale of Two Cities. So your reflections about that, we can finish. And let's go again to Antonia.
Excuse me, may I
Yeah,
interrupt you?
finishing.
We have just 5 minutes. I'd like to summarize and I'll give you the floor. To summarize, let's do working group. My contacts on the chat. Feel free to get in touch with me at any moment. We have academic, we transatlantic, and let's do working group and to discuss all questions we have. And initiative is good way for everyone, for cities, for citizens, for academics. Let's do it. The floor is yours. Thank you. It will interrupt you, but
please,
we have discipline.
Let's go very fast just to have some time for Giacomo and Anita as well.
Yeah. Very quickly. I think that it's important that we have some sort of balance between the two types of the cities. I think that the one could benefit from the other. It's not mutually exclusive. So I think that the only word I need to say here is balancing virtual with real. Thank you very much for giving me the floor.
Giacomo.
Well, I agree with Antonia, and I would just like to say about the working group that I think it's very important to really involve the cities and people from the council, because otherwise all these talks find nothing in reality to happen afterwards. So this is
Perfect. Anita, the last words for you.
I think I'll just be repeating myself. I completely agree with Tonia and what Giacomo said. I also think, though, that not only the councils, but also the citizens have to be involved in some capacity. I think that's important.
Super. Well, let me finish by saying that this is a super promising initiative. I very much encourage all the main stakeholders to join the Citiverse Council and working group so we can share experiences, work together to make this happen, and also sharing ways to take advantage of these new technologies for the benefit of our citizens, and adding more and more better services and engagement tools. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day and the rest of the event.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
so
much.
much.
See you soon.
Very,
I'll send
very
all
insightful.
documentation to your email. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for your time.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye.